Listening is an act of love. Thank you. You can help lift up the voices, stories, and challenges we share by making a contribution at thiswayout.org.
A sincere thank you to all of you who already support This Way Out. Your support matters.
I'm Lucia Chappelle.
And I'm Michael LeBeau.
With NewsWrap, a summary of some of the news in or affecting LGBTQ communities around the world for the week ending June 19th, 2021. Hungarian lawmakers approved a bill this week banning classroom content that promotes homosexuality or gender change. It fits the agenda of increasingly autocratic Prime Minister Viktor Orban. He's gearing up for his upcoming re-election campaign, and LGBTQ people are easy targets. The bill also outlaws any queer-positive content in advertising or media that could be seen by minors, which virtually bans anything queer-positive on television. As an amendment to a bill establishing harsher penalties for pedophilia, it was difficult for lawmakers to vote against it. The final tally was 157 in favor, with one brave independent lawmaker voting no. Human Rights Watch senior researcher Linda Gall called equating LGBTQ people with pedophiles despicable and unworthy of an EU member state. Opposition MP Anna Donat also serves in the European Parliament. She called on EU authorities to take immediate action without offering any specifics. European Commission spokesman on law and equality Christian Wiegand diplomatically danced around the issue during a press briefing on June 16th.
As regards the Hungarian law specifically, we are aware of the adopted law and the national debate around it. We are looking into it in more detail. More generally, when protecting children from harmful content, it is important for member states to find the right balance of relevant fundamental rights, such as the freedom of expression or non-discrimination.
That response was lame, in Human Rights Watch researcher Gall's opinion. Almost in unison, several other equality advocates lamented the ineffectual statement and demanded of the Commission, please do something.
Meanwhile, the Council of Europe took action this week against Hungary's neighboring homophobic rival, Poland. The continent's major human rights organization approved a resolution condemning the rising anti-LGBTI hate speech and discrimination infecting Poland. It called for the passage of proactive human rights and anti-bias measures locally and nationally. Supported by autocratic President Andrzej Duda, at least 90 local governments across Poland have declared that they are LGBT-free zones. A few have reversed their positions after being threatened with the loss of much-needed European Union funding. It's not certain if Duda has followed up on his promise to funnel federal funds to LGBT-free zones to compensate for any such losses. Not to be outdone, the leader of Uzbekistan's National Revival Party has suggested a novel way to rid his Central Asian country of LGBTQ people. Alisher Kadyrov said in an interview with Alter Ego that his government should strip all of its queer residents of citizenship, then deport them to countries that are willing to accept them. Kadyrov skimped on the details.
Equality advocates in the U.S. have been waiting with bated breath for an important decision from the U.S. Supreme Court. At first glance, the High Court's unanimous June 17th ruling in favor of Catholic social services might appear to be a major victory for proponents of so-called religious liberty and a setback for LGBTQ rights. In Fulton v. the City of Philadelphia, the Roman Catholic agency had challenged the Pennsylvania municipality's requirement that fostering and adoption agencies must consider applications from potential LGBTQ parents. On a closer read through the decision, the general consensus is that it is extremely narrow. Veteran gay journalist Rex Walkner wrote that it was based on a never-used clause in Philadelphia's contracts, which Philadelphia can simply delete to nullify this ruling. To Shannon Minter of the National Center for Lesbian Rights, it's a significant victory for LGBTQ people. because the court did not change the current constitutional framework, which permits governments to enforce anti-discrimination laws that prohibit discrimination against LGBTQ people, even when doing so may have a disparate burden on those who hold certain religious beliefs. Those who feared the court might create a sweeping new religious exemption to such laws can breathe a sigh of relief. Statements from the American Civil Liberties Union, Lambda Legal, the Human Rights Campaign, and other equality groups essentially echoed those sentiments, but the sense of relief is not universal.
The Conservative government of Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison is resurrecting its controversial religious discrimination bill. Critics call it a license to discriminate. For example, it would allow healthcare providers to refuse to serve LGBTQ people based on religious belief, according to the Sydney Star Observer. It could also override many anti-discrimination laws enacted at the state level, such as Victoria's recently passed law banning the use of so-called conversion therapy. Neither side seems to be happy with the bill. The religious right warns that protections in the current version don't go far enough, while LGBTQ activists worry that it could nullify many hard-won rights. The government vowed this week to introduce the bill in Parliament before the end of the year. National elections in Australia are scheduled for 2022.
Back in the U.S., the Biden administration is initiating proactive steps to defend transgender people from the barrage of state-level anti-trans bills assaulting their basic human rights. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona announced this week that his department is reversing the previous administration's policy regarding Title IX. The civil rights law that protects students from discrimination based on sex will again be interpreted to include LGBTQ students. The Department of Justice announced this week that it will file friend of the court briefs and challenges to two transphobic laws: West Virginia's ban on trans competitors in school sports and Arkansas's ban on gender-affirming medical care for transgender youth. In the West Virginia case, the Justice Department argues that a state law that limits or denies a particular class of people's ability to participate in public, federally funded educational programs and activities solely because their gender identity does not match their sex assigned at birth violates both Title IX and the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. In the same way, it argues that the Arkansas law violates the Equal Protection Clause because it specifically denies a limited class of people the ability to receive medically necessary care solely on the basis of their sex assigned at birth. Virtually all of this year's numerous state laws that impinge on transgender rights will face constitutional challenges.
Lawmakers in the Mexican states of Sinaloa and Baja California each opened civil marriage to same-gender couples this week. The vote was 23-0, with 17 not voting in Sinaloa on June 15th. The following day in Baja, it was 18-4, with 1 abstention and 2 not voting. Mexico has 31 states, and 21 of them now enjoy marriage equality. The country's Supreme Court has endorsed it, but the justices decided to allow each state to deal with the issue as it saw fit. Some have done so administratively. A few decided that nothing prevented same-gender couples from marrying under their existing laws. Most created new laws. The Independent Capital District of Mexico City was the first jurisdiction in the country to open civil marriage to lesbian and gay couples. Legislation was enacted there in 2010.
Finally, a gay couple in a residential subdivision of Racine, Wisconsin, came up with a bright idea to express their pride this month. Memo Ficino and Lance Meir had been ordered to take down the rainbow flag they were flying on their front porch by the local homeowners association. It instituted rules against opinion flags after Black Lives Matter and Thin Blue Line banners ruffled feathers. Ficino said that looking through our homeowners' rules, we noticed that removable lights are permitted without restriction. So we bought 6 colored floodlights and we washed our house in pride colors. The couple posted a photo of their glowing rainbow house to Reddit's Malicious Compliance subreddit, a group of 1.5 million who support conforming to the letter but not the spirit of a request. The viral photo has had tens of thousands of views and more than 6,000 positive comments. Ficino admitted that it was a little less subtle than our simple flag, but a lot more fun for anyone complaining about the flag itself and what it represents. He suggested that a brand new market might exist for boxes of Pride Edition multi-hued floodlights. That would make evening observances by LGBTQ people and their allies even more colorful. You can see a picture of the house this week at thiswayout.org.
That's NewsWrap, global queer news with attitude for the week ending June 19th, 2021. Follow the news in your area and around the world. An informed community is a strong community.
NewsWrap is written by Greg Gordon, edited by Lucia Chappelle, produced by Brian DeShazer, and brought to you by you.
Help keep us in ears around the world at thiswayout.org, where you can also read the text of this newscast and much more.
And you can read the transcript and listen to NewsWrap each week by subscribing to our This Way Out radio channel on YouTube. For This Way Out, I'm Lucia Chappelle. Stay healthy.
And I'm Michael LeBeau. Stay safe.
This Way Out delivers LGBTQ news and culture to more than 150 local communities on radio stations around the world, and we are also a free online news service. You can choose your favorite way to listen, online or on the air, at thiswayout.org. Please sign up for our free e-newsletter, Inside This Way Out. We will respect your trust in us and make sure your personal information is never shared with others.
Just send us an email at info@thiswayout.org to receive the informative and unique addition to the show. You'll be invited to join us for a more in-depth look into our stories and be encouraged to learn more about This Way Out's 3 decades of broadcast activism.
Find out about our upcoming virtual Pride event, James Baldwin, a This Way Out teach-in, live streaming on Instagram and YouTube, June 25th, 2021, featuring an interview with President of the Human Rights Campaign, Alfonso David.
James Baldwin came into my life through his writings and through his conversations. I did not hear his voice until much later in life. His words are powerful on the page, but when you add his voice to those words, they go into another sphere.
I want to make it absolutely clear that I am talking to you as Jimmy Baldwin, who was born in Harlem 39 years ago, not as an organizer, and not as a Negro leader, and not as a public figure, not as any of those things, but as one of the poets that you produced.
We hope you choose to join us in celebration of LGBTQ history and culture. Email us at info@thiswayout.org to join the movement.
We'll make sure you always know what's going on inside This Way Out.